What's up, everybody? Thrift Behringer here, live on Friday night, man. High school scoreboard show, week number 3 inside the GIAA. We cannot wait to go in from 8-man football, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. Man, I love football season. Also, college football starts. We got some of those scores. Auburn playing right now as well. But Big Rich, how about another week of high school football inside the GIAA?
Week 3 is here, and we have had some jam-packed games, not only tonight but last night as well. In all the classifications of the GIAA, we've had some upsets, and we've had some teams that have come out fast out the gate, dominant teams that have been championship caliber teams as well.
You see, I'm pulling right now my Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport because we're still getting score updates as we speak, here on my phone. So if you see me looking at my phone, yes, we got the 2 phones going. We're going to be updating you as live as we can, but we kind of messed up last week, and I'm going to take full responsibility for that because each week we're going to have the football team of the week by Mallory and Evans and Drew Butler, and we cannot wait to drop that. I know we already put it out on social media, but we're going to have Drew Butler talk about why he picked this team, and then we'll talk about the stats, the game, and why we picked them for last week. So can't wait to do that after this break. Then, of course, we're going to talk about all the scores and that we have across the GIAA, man. And listen, some upsets happen. We have some dominant performances, and we are setting up for some type of clash next week in 4A specifically, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking of one matchup, FPD and Brookstone is really the match that both teams undefeated going into next week. Both teams were dominant today. I mean, FPD, not only, they're 3-0, but they have been dominant 3-0. And then, the team of the week, Brentwood, the defending champs, they have held their own. And, you've got teams like Valwood that ended up bouncing back. And you got some teams in the 8-man football that, they just put on a scoring barrage. And so I'm excited just to go through all the scores.
I am too, man. We are presented by the Beck Center. We're live in the Beck Center. Thank you again to Roger Beck and the Beck Center Academic and Athletic Success for allowing us to host our Inside the GIAA show, which will be starting next month. Every Wednesday night, you know where to tune in. And then also every Friday night, it's a high school scoreboard show presented by the Beck Center right here, week number 3. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from break, though, you're going to hear from Drew Butler. Who was that football team of the week? You're going to find out next here on the high school scoreboard show presented by the Beck Center on GIAA.tv.
For the big, for the small, the short, and the tall. Peacemakers, risk takers. For the optimists, pessimists, exhibitionists. For long-distance love. For the far-sighted, nearsighted. For introverts and extroverts. For the thinkers and the doers. For old friends. Coca-Cola. For everyone.
Imagine a life-changing injury. Imagine the fear and unknown. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team, the only physicians in the area with advanced certification in orthopedic sports medicine, treats sports injuries with innovative techniques. The Houston Clinic has helped nearly 1 million athletes live without pain. Imagine getting back in the game. Imagine the best game of your life. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team.
Hey everyone, Drew Butler here, Vice President of Business Development at Mallory and Evans, here to present the Week 2 Mallory and Evans GIAA Team of the Week. Congratulations to defending state champions Brentwood on your 36-10 victory over Pinewood in Week 2. You are officially the Mallory and Evans GIAA Team of the Week for Week 2. We'll see you next week.
There is our team of the week, Brentwood School. Great job by Brentwood School. Adam Lord, we got to know him last year, Richard, as his team made it all the way to the state championship, and they got a huge, big-time win last week, 36-10 over Pinewood Christian Academy. Some of the guys you're seeing in this highlight right now, they're absolutely sensational. Running back Tristan Robinson, 8 rushes for 145 yards and 2 TDs. Taking it to the house. And then Baylor Cobb, efficient, didn't have to throw it a lot. 4-6 for 93 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 30 and a touchdown. And then Abe Williams, he caught out of the backfield. He also had 30 yards rushing. The defense, lights out. What a win for Brentwood School and Adam Lord, trying to get back to the championship game like they were last year.
Yeah, very deserving of being Team of the Week. We had a chance to see them beat Southwest Georgia Academy in the 2A championship. They did play Georgia Military College today. We'll see how they faced in week 3. But, they continue to just grind it out. If you can see just the physical play. And they also got a quarterback that can air it out. I mean, look at that, breaking that tackle. He's going up the sideline. I mean, that's just pure offense there by Brentwood. I think that they're one of the teams that could maybe go back-to-back in 2A.
Oh, come on, man. I thought you were going to be a little better than that. I thought you were going to say that's cool as the other side of the pillow. I thought you were going to be Stuart Scott. You're doing highlights right now. You better might as well go all out, Rich.
I want to pay homage to Stuart
Scott. How about
Scott.
this right here? Whoop! I did that today calling a game. Chris Berman, because there were a couple of jukes I saw, and I pulled out the wops in it, and I was like, you know what? I hope Chris never hears that, because he's going to be like, don't ever sell my thing. Yeah, but Brentwood, big win, 36-10. Adam Lord has a dominant team over there up at Brentwood. Great win by them, Richard. And then some of the defense, Jacob Hooks had 11 tackles. Jalen Johnson, 8 tackles and a strip recovery. Jackson Bragg, 8 tackles with a scoop and score. Baylor Cobb playing both sides of the ball as a quarterback, has 7 tackles and a forced fumble. And then Tristan Robinson, 140 yards on the ground. How about on defense? 3 tackles and an interception. These guys were literally dominant on both sides of the ball. Good luck picking a player of the game. But thank you to Drew Butler. Thank you to Mallory and Evans. Okay, supporting these athletes, supporting all the teams here in the GIAA. That is what it's about, man. We're trying to shine a light and give exposure to all the incredible teams and programs within the GIAA. And without partners and businesses like Drew Butler and Mallory and Evans, I don't know where we would be, man. So our Mallory and Evans Team of the Week is Brentwood School. So great job by them, Rich.
Yeah, and they taking on Georgia Military College. We got time to go ahead and run through those score updates?
Yeah, Richard, can you mind pulling up your text messages right here where all the scores are? I don't know what happened on your phone that had all the scores on it. You mind pulling that up?
Well, we got Brentwood ended up defeating Georgia Military College 35-7.
Oh, so, yeah.
They continue rolling.
And there the text messages. I told you we have 2 phones right here.
2 phones going.
Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter. But big win for Brentwood. They go staying undefeated. Big win over Georgia Military, 35-7. All right, some of the other scores. We got Augusta Prep defeating Windsor Academy 22-14, Rich. Augusta Prep now goes to 1-2. They get their first win of the season, so great job. And they did this on the road. Great job, Augusta Prep Day.
Yeah, I love the 8-man football, and they were able to get a big win, and it's actually their first win of the season as they go to 1-2.
Maclay beat Brookwood 45-14. Brookwood goes to 0-3 on the season. Maclay goes to 2-0 on the season as well, Richard. Trinity Christian took down Edmund Burke. Edmund Burke was undefeated. Listen to this score, ladies and gentlemen, 3-0. So if you like defense, you got defense on that side of the state. Trinity Christian came in 1-1. Edmund Burke, a team that we know very well, played and won the championship last year. Undefeated, goes down 3-0. And Trinity Christian did this on the road, so a defensive battle for sure. Kings Ridge, they stay undefeated, and they keep looking like one of the top teams in the state, Richard.
Yeah, and they're a GHSA school, by the way.
And they won 42-7 over Heritage out of Noonan, who's in the 2A classification. Brookstone took down Mount Vernon, another team in the GHSA. You're going to hear that this week and next week for some of these schools. But how about the Brookstone Cougars? Ian Headley and his staff, closer game in the previous 2 weeks. They have put up 49 and 51 points. This week, more of a defensive battle, but able to get a big win over Mount Vernon, 28-13. The Cougars go to 3-0, and they are setting up beautifully for that big-time mega matchup next week against the #1 team in 4A, FPD. We'll talk about their win in just a moment, but Brookstone goes to 3-0.
Yeah, anytime you have a returning starter at quarterback and then you have a backfield with Dylan Terry and Sammy LeBoy. Broughton Branch has got weapons to throw to, and Mount Vernon kind of made it interesting. Remember, they did not play Mount Vernon last year. And so this was a much closer game. It was 21-13. Brookstone was able to pull away, and they are now 3-0 on the season with a first-year head coach in Ian Headley.
All right, from there we go from the Brookstone Cougars now to staying in 4A, Calvary Christian Knights. Again, a slow start to this one. Mount DeSales was up 14-0 on Calvary Christian, but for Coach Emmanuel Brunson, able to come back and score 34 unanswered points. A team that did not win a game last year in Calvary, 2-0 to start early here in 2025. Big win over Mount DeSales.
Yeah, their quarterback, Braxton Wilkinson, has got weapons to throw the football to, like Luke Scoggins and Sawyer Talbot. And he also has a running back in Jamar Williams. It takes the pressure off, setting up the run game to set up the passing game. And then that defense ended up shutting down Mount DeSales and Calvary. Now 2-0. They're going to take on Tatnall Square next week, trying to go to 3-0. I mean, year 2 in the GIAA, and Calvary has already doubled the win total from last year.
Yeah, so great job by them and great job by Calvary on getting the win against Mount DeSales. Westwood took down Fullington Academy. Westwood in a battle of undefeateds, 2-0 versus 2-0. Westwood wins this one 20-12, Rich.
Yeah, good win by Westwood. Again, you got some 8-man football here, and we're going to see some teams that are really going to be battling it out. These are much smaller schools in the GIAA, but we're going to have everybody wants to gun after Sherwood Christian. They are the defending 8-man football champions, and so a good win for Westwood.
All right, also, we just got a final score as well, that what Deerfield Windsor was able to take down Westfield 33-7. Thank you again to Brett Taylor, who was a big part of GIAA.TV. This was the game of the week, man. You know how we're going to start doing that here in the next couple of weeks, where we pick a game of the week and we promote it and we have the coaches on from it afterwards. Richard, this would have been it for this week. And Deerfield Windsor, the defending state champion, goes into Westfield and absolutely annihilates them 33-7. Big win for Deerfield Windsor.
Yeah, Deerfield Windsor, there's something just brewing down in Albany, because you have a lot of championship teams down in the southern region of Georgia, and Deerfield Windsor gets a huge win in Perry, taking down a Westfield school, which is a 3A school, but they play a lot of 4A opponents in their region. But, yeah, getting a big win on the road for those Deerfield Windsor Knights.
Yeah, that was a big one, because it was a battle of undefeateds, and Deerfield Windsor looking like every bit the defending state champion. All right, from there we continue moving on, and we go to Creekside Christian Academy. They took on the Kings Academy. High-scoring affair there. Creekside able to win that one 51-30 on the road. We're seeing a lot of road team win here.
We are.
I've said that consecutively, man. But Creekside Christian now goes to 2-0 on the season, and this is a gap.
This is a gap school, yeah. The Kings Academy, second year in the GIAA. These two teams, they're very familiar with each other because they both used to be gap schools and they were in the same region together. But big win for Creekside Christian.
All right, George Walton and Tatnall Square faced off. Undefeated George Walton, winless Tatnall Square, and George Walton able to win again. Let me say it once more, Richard. On the road, 30-7, as Tatnall Square goes to 0-3. Tough start to their season, man. They've been dominated all 3 weeks. And George Walton now goes to 3-0, a team that in George Walton last year didn't have a great season. They're getting back and I think one of the surprises in 4A, Rich, 30-7 win over Tatnall.
Yeah, there's something special about Morgan County over there in Monroe, George Walton Academy, that is undefeated, and they could be one of those sleeper teams in 4A.
Unbelievable, man. All right, then we keep grinding along Briarwood and played Glasscock County. You ever even heard of Glasscock County?
I've never heard of Glasscock County.
I'm sorry, man. I thought I'd keep up with high school football about as good as anyone, man. They are in Gibson, Georgia, the Panthers, all right? And they had already lost to Augusta Prep. Actually, they beat Augusta Prep last week, 49-23, and lost to Jenkins. So the team from Gibson lost to Briarwood out of Warrenton, Georgia. Briarwood now stays undefeated. They go to 2-0. They win this one 22-8. So good win by Briarwood.
Yeah, just excited to see Briarwood, just another one of those teams that we saw make a deep run in the playoffs last year for 2A classification. And, a great win for Briarwood, and they are still undefeated. So let's see where they are at the rankings.
If you said storylines for 2024, what would have it been? I would have said John Millage not being dominant after they had that incredible run of 80-something games in a row. Well, guess what John Millage is back to doing? Dominating. They're undefeated, and they won 42-7 over Tift area.
Good night.
John Millage, Deerfield, Windsor. It looks like this is happening.
Collision course.
On its way. So, big win by John Millage, 42-7, and they go to 3-0. Tift Area Academy, that was actually their first loss of the season. So, big win for the dominant team in 3A.
Yeah, is it safe to say that John Millage is back? I mean, I don't think they've ever left.
John Millage is back, folks.
They're back. Yeah, they had that amazing win streak, and they fell off a little bit, but I still think they're going to be there when it's all said and done at Mercer University, possibly taking on Deerfield Windsor.
Covenant Academy took down Holy Spirit Prep in dominant fashion, 46-7.
8-man football.
8-man football,
yeah.
And we got some 8-man shout-outs. Covenant taking down Holy Spirit Prep, 46-7. Richard Piedmont beat Baconton Charter 19-0, so good win by Piedmont Academy. Walker took down Dominion Christian 45-34,
wow,
Richard.
That's a big win for Walker.
That is, and we saw them last week take on a school here in Columbus, Georgia.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, and they are able to win back-to-back games, and they are now 2-1. They win that one 45-34. And then Mount Zion beat Bethlehem Christian 20-6. Mount Zion now goes to 3-0 on the season, Richard.
Yeah, and that's a GHSA school. Mount Zion is in Class 1A Division II. Bethlehem Christian, remember they had an undefeated season last year, and they went on that incredible run, and it was great for the community because, having to deal with in Winder Barrow, that area with the tragedy last year with Appalachia High School. Bethlehem Christian is just a couple miles down from that campus.
Yeah.
And so they had to embrace that tragedy as well. But I love to see Bethlehem Christian do well. They had a great season last year, just taking on a GHSA school that's considered a powerhouse in Class Division I, 2A.
And here they come. Boom, boom, boom. I don't have my sound on my phone, so I'm just telling you what it sounds like when I'm
got to get that in.
Updates. David Emanuel Academy beat Crisp Academy 56-6. David Emanuel Academy is staying undefeated. They go to 3-0. First Presbyterian Day, Brett Collier, the team of the week last week. They win big over St. Anne Pacelli, avenge last year's only regular season loss, 34-14.
Has there been anybody more dominant than FPD the first 3 games of the regular season?
No.
They take down Eagles Landing Christian Academy, a pretty good GHSA school. They take down Marion County, which is a GHSA school, and they've taken down Pacelli, which they got a new coach. They've improved. They've got some momentum build after beating Tatnall last week, and having to go in and try to get the win against FPD. FPD lost to Pacelli last year. Remember, the defending champs came in and lost their first game. And now Pacelli, they come up to Macon. FPD gets the revenge, and now it's a collision course. Possible game of the week, maybe? I don't know.
We'll talk about that and tease that.
FPD and Brookstone, it's collision course for week 4.
All right, and I have one more score that I did want to give before we take a quick break and then come back and we'll wrap it up here on the High School Scoreboard Show presented by the Beck Center. Southwest Georgia Academy, team that played in the championship last year, they dominated Southwest Georgia STEM Charter 60-22 in a battle of undefeateds. Both were 1-0 in the battle of Southwest Georgia.
Yeah.
So Southwest Georgia versus Southwest Georgia. The Academy versus the STEM. And the Academy takes down the STEM. They took them behind the woodshed, and they win this one 60-22. So big win for Southwest Georgia Academy. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from break, we're going to kind of preview and maybe give a little teasers on some of the games next week we're looking forward to. And we'll wrap it up here on the High School Scoreboard Show presented by the Beck Center on GIAA.TV.
Imagine a life-changing injury. Imagine the fear and unknown. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team, the only physicians in the area with advanced certification in orthopedic sports medicine, treat sports injuries with innovative techniques. The Houston Clinic has helped nearly 1 million athletes live without pain. Imagine getting back in the game. Imagine the best game of your life. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team.
For the big, for the small, the short, and the tall. Peacemakers, risk takers. For the optimists, pessimists, exhibitionists. For long distance love. For the farsighted, nearsighted. For introverts and extroverts. For the thinkers and the doers. For old friends. Coca-Cola. For everyone.
Welcome back to the High School Scoreboard Show presented by the Beck Center. Some other scores we got on Thursday that we forgot to mention. Vidalia. I used to say their name wrong. Them and Westminster. I used to just butcher the names, and people are like, you're the voice of the GIAA, man. You can't even get the names right. Vidalia Heritage Academy takes down Georgia Christian 51-0. Absolutely obliterated them on Thursday. Lanier Christian Academy took down Riverside Military Academy 35-12. 8-man football, Sherwood Christian, team that won the championship last year, Richard. They won 46-13 over Citizens Christian Academy in a big win. And then a team that played the state championship last year, Valwood, took down Federica Academy 33-14.
Yeah, great win for Valwood after losing to Brookstone at home last week when it was a back and forth game. It was tied at 37, and Brookstone ended up coming out victorious. And Valwood, a good bounce back win. We saw them in the state championship last year, taking on Deerfield Windsor, and they won the state championship 2 years ago. A big win over Federica.
Yeah. So again, on Thursday night scores, we had Vidalia beating Georgia Christian 51-0. Lanier Christian Academy beating Riverside 35-12. Sherwood taking down Citizens 46-13 yet last night, and then Valwood beating Federica on the road at 33-14. All right, Richard, let's talk about some games next week. Next Thursday, the defending 1A state champion is taking on the defending 4A state champion. 0-2 Robert Toombs. They are hosting Bullock Academy, who's 2-0. Robert Toombs 0-2. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Sleep on Robert Toombs all you want. Bullock, though, the defending state champion, I expect big things from them this year, and they are trying to go repeat. This is going to be a big one next Thursday night.
Yeah, throw out the record books. I know that Robert Toombs, every time they're ranked number 1 in 1A and they make that path, but they always have a losing record because they play teams like this. They play 4A schools like Bullock Academy.
Yeah, and their two losses always, sorry to interrupt, Richard, are Pinewood Christian and Edmund Burke, and we know how good Edmund Burke is, and Pinewood is a 2A school anyway. Yeah. And then on the flip side, Bullock Academy, they are 2-0 to start the season. They've beaten Portal and Claxton. So they will be playing next Thursday night. The game of the week, though, and I don't think there's any doubt about it, is number 1 FPD taking on what I think is number 2 Brookstone. But I can hear people say, how is the defending state champion Bullock not number 1? Either way, FPD and Brookstone is a battle of top 4, top 3, top 2, depending on what ranking you look at teams. Both of them are undefeated, and it is going to be at Brookstone next Friday night at 7:30. Also, Westminster Christian Academy takes on undefeated Georgia School for Innovation and Classics. Both those schools are undefeated, start 2-0 on the season, Richard. So Lake Oconee goes to Brentwood, who was just our Mallory and Evans Team of the Week. And so they'll be 3-0 taking on Lake Oconee Academy, Richard. So cannot wait for that. But again, there's no doubt the game of the week is in the 4A classification. It is FPD and Brookstone. It's kind of what we thought this week's Westfield and Deerfield Windsor was going to be.
You've got a battle of 2 heavyweights. Brookstone, who have gone to championships. In fact, this is a rematch of the state championship from 2 years ago. Just seeing Brookstone and their first-year head coach, they're 3-0. They got a returning starting quarterback, but FPD has just been dominant in the first 3 games. Now, Brookstone, they didn't dominate Mount Vernon, but they got into a barn burner with Valwood, a very good team.
It's good to win in different ways, though, Richard.
You win, but you win in different ways, but I haven't seen a team in the GIAA dominate like FPD has done in the first 3 games.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a clash of styles, too, and both really well-coached teams. It is going to be a lot of fun. 7:30. And by the way, you can watch that game if you want to on Georgia Alabama Sports Live YouTube channel to be able to see it. And then we're going to recap all of it right here on the High School Scoreboard Show at GIAA.TV. So cannot wait for that one. FPD at Brookstone, Richard. But then we got some other great games going to be happening around the state. And we can't wait to give you up-to-date information. And don't forget, you need to like us on Instagram. Follow us on all different types of social media. Up-to-date information. It's the #1 site in the entire GIAA. Go argue with someone else. It's GIAAsports.org. That's where I find everything I need for GIAA sports. It is up-to-date always with the right information. You already know when the state championships are. You know what venue they're going to be at. Everything you need to keep up with scores, stats, rankings, brackets, I don't care. GIAAsports.org is a site for you, Richard. It's our best friend for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I get all the information when it comes to not just football in the GIAA, but we got volleyball, softball going on. We've got the winter sports, spring sports, all the information that you need. And you can also go into the archives and look at, past champions and, go down memory lane and take the nostalgia trip and just talk about like some of the great teams of the past.
Yeah. And finally, don't forget, Inside the GIAA will be coming back here soon, and you can find that during the week on GIAA.TV. Thank you again to Tony Morgan, Brett Taylor, Clint Morgan, Sam Whitlock, Kent Copeland, and the entire GIAA team for allowing us to do what we do, and we'll continue to shine a light on every single team, every single athlete, and we love football in the GIAA. We got a great season in store for us. Week 3 in the books. We'll see you next time on the High School Football Scoreboard Show presented by the Beck Center on GIAA.TV.